Here's the cool simple question, which is frequently used to test mental math capabilities. There is an unknown number you need to determine. 1 was added to this number, then 2 was subtracted from the result, and then it was multiplied by 3 and then divided by 4. The result is 6. What is the unknown number? You have 4 different choices. Choice A, 6. Choice B, 8. Choice C, 9. Choice D, 12. Can you determine the answer? Give yourself 10 to 15 seconds. Maybe 20 to 30 seconds if you need more time. Ready or not, I am going to continue, reveal the correct answer as well as solution on how to solve these types of challenges. The best way to solve these types of challenges is to reverse the calculation by solving the problem backwards. So what we can do, we can multiply 6 by 4, then divide by 3, add 2 and subtract 1. And the result of these calculations is 9. Let's check to make sure it's correct, which is another good idea to do on the test. Let's put in parentheses 9 plus 1 minus 2, close parentheses, then multiply the result by 3, divide by 4, and the result will be equal to 6. So the correct choice here is choice C, 9. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. Here's the cool question, variations of which we frequently see on the test. Young couple drove 1,200 miles in 3 days during their honeymoon. They drove 3 times more on the first day than on the last day, and the same mileage on the second day as on the first and third days combined. How many miles did they drive each day? You have 4 different choices. For the first, second, and third day, you have choices of A, 600, 400, and 200. Choice B, 550, 450, and 250. For choice C, you have 450, 600, and 150. And for choice D, you have 450, 700, and 150. Can you calculate the answer? Give yourself 10 to 15 seconds. You can use a piece of paper or you can do mental math. Now let's continue to see how we can get to the correct solution together. 1,200 miles together with your loving partner, what could be the better time to spend? Anyway, let's first look at the facts. There are 2 facts that I'd like to point out. Fact number 1 in this problem is that on the third day, they drove 1/3 of the first day miles. They probably got tired, right? And the second fact is on the second day, they drove first day miles plus third day miles combined. So what's interesting here, can we base our calculations based off of the last day mileage? And what I mean by that is that can we use the third day miles as x in the expression we're trying to build? Based on this information, on the first day, they drove 3x miles. On the second day, they drove 3x plus x miles. In total, they drove 1,200 miles. So now we can build an expression 3x in parentheses 3x plus x, and then plus additional x equals 1,200 miles. Let's do the calculation for x, which also represents the third day. X equals 1,200 divided by 8, which is 150 miles. And this is how many miles they drove on the third day. On the first day then, they drove 3 multiplied by 150, which is an equivalent of 450 miles. And on the second day, they drove 450 plus 150 equals 600 miles. So the correct choice here is choice C. On the first day, 450 miles, second day, 600 miles, and on the third day, 150 miles. The cool thing is that you didn't just get ready for the test, but in case you have honeymoon coming up and are interested in 3-day driving trip and have couple good locations in mind, you know how you would calculate the miles for your planned trip. Some of you might disagree, but calculating missing numbers is one of my favorite types of questions. A lot of times, you are presented with the 3x3 matrix, typically a square, which has small squares inside. In our case, we have numbers in the different colors presented in the smaller squares inside the larger square. The numbers are 521, 233, 4 and 4. And then one number is missing, and this is the one that you need to calculate. Once you complete the calculation, you need to select one of the 4 different choices. Choice A, 0, choice B, 1, choice C, 2, and choice D, 3. Take a look closely and see if you can identify the missing number. Give yourself 5 to 10 seconds, maybe 10 to 15 seconds, to see if you can come up with the right solution. Do you see the answer? Let's continue to see how we can solve this challenge and get to the correct solution together. As usual, my advice to you, always look for patterns. In this particular case, we need to look at the patterns inside the rows and then inside the columns. Let's look at the first 2 rows to see if we can get a pattern. The sum of 5 plus 2 plus 1 equals to 8. The sum of 2 plus 3 plus 3 also equals to 8. So there might be a pattern. Let's look if there is a pattern for the columns that have full sets of numbers. 5 plus 2 plus 4 equals 11. 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 9. So there is no pattern. In this case, we can relatively simply use the pattern from the rows. This would allow us to calculate the 3rd row. If we know that the sum should be 8, we can assume that the 4 plus question mark, which would be representing the missing number, would be equal to 8. So the missing number would be equal to 0. The correct choice here is choice A, 0. Hopefully you've nailed this question on your own and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. Here's one of my favorite questions because it is very frequently used on the test. You're presented with the matrix, 4x3 matrix. Each cell in the matrix has numbers. For example, first row in the matrix has numbers 2, 8, 7, and 6. Second row has numbers 9, 5, 9, 5. And the third row has numbers 9, 7, 4, and one number in the bottom right corner is missing. And this is exactly what you need to calculate. You can choose from one of 4 different choices. Choice A, 5, choice B, 7, choice C, 9, and then choice D, 11. Do you think you can come up with the answer? Give yourself 5 to 10 seconds. This is about as much time as you will get on the test. Let's continue to see how we can get to the correct answer together. The key to solve this problem is to determine the pattern. And the pattern either can be in the rows or in columns. In this particular case, let's check the columns first. And then what you see is that each column adds up to the value of 20. For example, 2 plus 9 is 20. 8 plus 5 plus 7 is 20. 7 plus 9 plus 4 is 20 as well. We also want to check if there is a pattern with the rows. And there is no pattern, because the first row adds up to 23. 2 plus 8 plus 7 plus 6 equals 23. And the second row adds up to 28. 9 plus 5 plus 9 plus 5 equals 28. So there is no pattern. Based on this information, you can calculate the missing value in the 4th column. 6 plus 5 plus question mark equals 20. So the answer is C, 9. This is the missing value. Hopefully you figured it out and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. And now, here's the question for you to try. If you can calculate the answer, please post it in the comment section of this video so I can give you the grade. We have 2 projects. And to complete project 1, it takes 8 hours. And to complete project 2, it takes 12 hours. So how much longer, in percentages, it takes to complete project 1 versus project 2? You have 4 different choices. Choice A, 4%. Choice B, 50%. Choice C, 100%. And choice D, 150%. Can you calculate the answer? Please make sure to post it in the comment section of this video so I can give you the grade. Thanks for participating and good luck. The types of questions you're looking at is very frequently used on a test. Typically, you're being asked to determine the item which does not belong to the group. and you're presented with multiple items. In our choice, we have choices A, B, C, and D. Each item is represented as a square which contains multiple different items inside. And you need to determine the item which does not belong to this particular pattern or sequence. Do you see the answer? Please take a look to see if you can come up with the solution. Give yourself 5 to 10 seconds, maybe 10 to 20 seconds to see if you can come up with the answer. Did you figure it out? Let's continue to see how we can go and get to the correct solution together. As you might have figured out by now, there's always a pattern that you need to detect to answer these types of questions correctly. And a lot of times, there are items that are designed to confuse you. So let me first walk you through the items that are designed to confuse you. You have small circles, and there are 4 small circles in each of the square. And the small circles do not have any patterns. We also have triangles. Some squares have 2 triangles, and some squares only have 1. But there is no pattern here. The pattern is actually defined by the half circle. And as you can see, all half circles are attached to the corners of the square. You see this in the shapes A, B, and C. But in shape D, half circle is placed in a different location. It is in the bottom middle of the square. This is why the item that doesn't belong to the group is the choice D. So the correct answer here is choice D. Let's recap. The pattern here is that all half circles are attached to the corners of the square. But half circle in the shape D is placed in a different place than the others. The half circle there is in the lower part of the square. This is why the correct answer here is choice D. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. I'm excited to take advantage of the opportunity and share with you how to solve these types of problems on the test. Typically, when you get a problem, you need to determine which object does not belong to the group. In this particular case, you need to determine which square doesn't belong to the group. You're presented with 4 different squares, choices A, B, C, and D. Each square contains 2 circles inside. In the large circle, quarter of each circle is missing, and instead replaced with the small circle. All squares also have triangles in the corner. Give yourself 5 to 10 seconds to see if you can come up with the answer. Do you see the answer? Let's continue to see how we can solve this challenge and get to the correct solution together. The key to solving this challenge is to detect the pattern. This is the skill that you need to develop to be successful in the test. Because there are 2 shapes here present in this question, triangles and circles, you should try to detect pattern among triangles and then among circles. In this particular question, there is only one pattern of the triangles. But there are some sophisticated questions in the test which might include patterns for both shapes. In this particular case, the pattern is that the square should contain the equal number of black and white triangles in the corners. Triangles in the square A positioned diagonally across each other. White triangles are located in the upper left corner and in the bottom right corner, and black triangles are located in the bottom left corner and in the upper right corner. You can see that the same pattern exists in the shape B, 2 white triangles and then 2 black triangles, and in the shape C, 2 black triangles on the left and 2 white triangles on the right. But if we look at the choice D, you see that there are 4 black triangles in the corners. Circles in this picture do not have a pattern, and their primary goal is to confuse you. If you look at the circles closely, you see that the large-small circle pattern doesn't exist. We have black-white, shape B black-white, shape C white-black, and then shape D white-white. Based on this information about the circles, we should ignore them and focus on the triangles inside the squares. This is why the odd shape, the shape that doesn't belong to the group, is the one that does not have equal distributions of all colors in the corners. So the correct answer here is choice D. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. And now it's your turn. I would like you to practice and try to answer this question on your own. Please analyze the question and post your answer as well as your rationale of how you did the calculations in the comment section of this video. You're presented with two squares. Smaller square is inside the larger square. Both squares have numbers in the corners. The larger square has numbers 15, 11, 32, and 23. The smaller square has numbers 22, 13, 5, and one number is missing. And this is the number you need to calculate. You have four different choices. Choice A, 1, choice B, 7, choice C, 12, and choice D, 17. Do you see the pattern? Can you calculate the correct number? Please post your answer in the comment section of this video so I can give you my feedback. Thank you for participating and good luck! Here's one of my favorite questions, and it is my favorite because it is so unusual. You are presented with the pyramid. Pyramid contains 5 different layers. If we go from the top to bottom, you have a question mark. This is the number that you need to uncover. The next layer contains numbers 24 and 28. Layer below this contains numbers 10, 12, and 14. Next layer has 4, 5, 6, and 7. And the last layer has numbers 3, 1, 4, 2, and 5. You're presented with 4 different choices for the missing number. Choice A, 55. Choice B, 56. Choice C, 57. And choice D, 60. Do you see the answer? You will be surprised how simple it is to get to the answer when we go to the next step. Give yourself 5, 10, maybe 15 seconds to see if you can calculate and get to the correct answer. Did you figure it out? Let's continue and see how we can get to the correct solution together. Well, here, to be honest, I tried to trick you. I went in describing numbers from top to bottom, but in reality, you should be looking at the numbers from bottom to the top. If we start from the bottom row, for example with numbers 3 and 1, you see that the sum of 3 and 1 will add up to 4. But then it gets trickier. If we go from the second row to the third row, you see that the 4 and 5 does not necessarily add up in 10. 4 and 5 adds up in 9, and then you need to increment it by 1. If you go to the next layer, you need to increment it by 2. And then in the final row, you need to increment it by 3. So the correct answer here is choice 55. Let's recap. Starting with the bottom row, the sum of 2 squares results in the number in the next row. For example, 2 plus 5 equals 7. However, as each level continues, the sum increases by 1. For example, 4 plus 5, we need to increment and add 1 to get to 10. So the answer is calculated by adding up 24 plus 28 plus 3, which would be equal to 52 plus 3 and would be equal to 55. The correct answer here is choice A, 55. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. Thanks for watching. If you liked the content, please give us a like and consider subscribing. Thank you for your endorsement, support, and patronage. Please also check out additional resources in the description section of this video. I also encourage you to check resources page on our website, howtoanalyzedata.net. Please leave your feedback, corrections, or suggestions in the comment section of this video. And all the best on your journey. I'll see you in my next video.